Welcome to Mpowered Living. I'm Ann Sheu. On this podcast, innovative leaders and visionary experts share insights and practical tools for work, family, and marriage. Each episode, we'll explore how to elevate your life while staying grounded in what truly matters to you. You're working hard to navigate relationships, build a thriving family, and create a legacy of purpose. We're here to help you do that with confidence and intentionality. So if you're ready to live a life by design, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Mpowered Living, the podcast where we explore the bold decisions and intentional practices that fuel thriving families and inspiring lives. I'm your host, Ann Sheu, and today we have a truly legendary guest joining us. Lyn St. is a trailblazer in the world of motorsports, a fierce competitor, and a champion for women breaking barriers in traditionally male-dominated industries. As the first woman to win Rookie of the Year at the Indy 500 and one of the first to break the 200 miles per hour barrier, Lyn's career has been defined by courage, resilience, and a relentless pursuit of excellence. In this episode, Lyn shares how she's navigated the challenges of being the first and what it takes to lead in uncharted territory, the critical importance of staying focused and grounded in high-pressure situations, and her work today with women in motorsports North America and her vision for empowering the next generation of women to succeed in racing and beyond. Lyn's insights on leadership, perseverance, and living with intention will leave you inspired to step into your own power and pursue your boldest dreams. Let's dive in. Hey, Lyn, I'm so excited to be chatting with you today.
Thank you. I was really looking forward to this. When I met you a while back in Vegas, I was so impressed with your presentation, your information, your authenticity. And so look forward to chatting with you on this.
Thank you so much for saying that. So I'm so curious. You did the workshop in Vegas. What were some of the values that you ended up with after you did that work during the conference?
Well, I've never really questioned my values, to be honest. I mean, and I really know what they are, but it was the process
Mm.
of how you approached it. In other words, a little bit of wisdom comes with age, I'm learning. And I've done so much work over the years, mostly focused on being a better athlete and being a better competitor and a better race car driver. But in the process, I've actually worked harder on being just a better person, and a better human, and understanding. As an athlete, you have to really understand who you are because you come first. And it was a challenge to manage that I used to take care of my mother when she was alive, and so I was a caregiver, managing the care more. And then at some point in my career, I actually got married and had a daughter. But anyway, learning how to manage me coming first as an athlete, but not in my life, overall. So there's you have to do a lot of work in life to be able to manage life. So understanding who you are, what your values are. You took it in a different direction, and I'm still processing that to a certain degree. But I actually have a little card that I carry that is about me. It's called your ACT profile.
Uh-huh.
And it's determining who you are, and then what makes you act and be the very best that you can be every day. And then you have to rehearse that every day. So in a sense, those are my values. I mean, but you just put it in a way that actually they sort of embraced everyone to be able to do it. I kind of came from an athlete standpoint, but the way you positioned it, whether you're just a parent or a business person or an executive or just a college student trying to figure, whatever, you said it in such a way that it enabled everybody, I think, to relate to it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, so you've talked about being an athlete. So much of your sport was about going into this uncharted territory, being the first woman to win the Rookie of the Year for Indy 500, first woman to drive faster than 200 miles per hour. What was that like? What was the hardest part of being first?
Well, first of all, not thinking about that and not knowing it is a good idea. I mean, you can't start putting, you got enough pressure just to perform without saying, I'm the first to do that. I tried to actually totally eliminate that from my brain. Say, focus on what I wanted to do, what I
Yeah.
needed to accomplish, and then what do I need to do to accomplish that.
Yeah.
And so I really tried to narrow it down to those, the more you can narrow things down to bite sizes
Yeah, yeah.
instead of thinking about the grand picture or what, and the other is what other people think. I mean, I had to let go of that a long time ago.
Mm,
And be focused on what my goals were, why I was doing what I was doing, and then what do I have to learn to do to be the very best at whatever that is. Our sport is a hybrid sport. We're an individual athlete that gets in a race car and individually competes. At
mhm.
the same time, it's not like a tennis player or a golfer where, yeah, you have to have good equipment and you have to have a trainer and you have to have some people around you. But we have to have those people all the time. I mean, you are part of a team, like
Yeah,
a team sport. We're like the quarterback of a football team, but then we have to go out and we have to run the ball and make the points and do it all by ourselves. It's so I call it a hybrid sport. And the hardest thing was adapting to different crew people and different other people all the time. Every year, it seemed like I would have new people to deal with, and that I depended on, not only in my life because of the safety involved and the risk involved, but just my performance as well. And I realized that if I didn't motivate them to believe in me, I had to believe in me first, and then you have to motivate other people to believe in you to get the best out of them, because everybody wants to be part of a team that's going to win. And if you haven't won yet, or you're not coming in as the winner, the winner of this, the former that, I came in as that female driver, the oddball out. And so I had to do a lot of convincing, a lot of work with other people, getting the best out of them and helping them understand that if I get the best out of them and they help me get the best out of me, we're going to win.
yeah.
So, it was a process, an ongoing process that I just spent a lot of time learning about other people and understanding them. The biggest breakthrough I had working with actually a performance coach was that I had to start letting go. I was protecting myself too much. I was protecting who I was and what my thoughts were. You have to allow yourself to be vulnerable and to share who you are with those other people so that they really understand how passionate you are, how much you do believe in yourself, how much you want it, and the struggles you may be having. I mean, I used to hide a lot of that early on. And so to become transparent and more vulnerable amongst at least my inner crew was a difficult thing for me to learn to do.
I imagine on a crew there are so many personalities. What is your advice for somebody who has to deal and navigate with many different types of personalities on their team? Like what's the one piece of advice that you would give a team leader?
Well, first of all, it's listen all the time. I mean, sometimes if you are listening to them having a conversation with somebody else, you know what I mean? You learn a lot more about them. It's not like eavesdropping, but it's having that antenna up of listening to what other people are saying to each other, because it can be insightful and it can give you some insight about people. And then the other is to ask them what they need. We don't do that often enough. What can I do for you today? What do you need? And sometimes people don't even know how to answer that. I mean, they're not used to having somebody ask them that. They're used to people telling them what to do,
Right.
and telling them what they need. I need this from you. So I used to do a lot of asking, and most of the guys. When I was competing, it was all guys.
Mm,
And they have a way of being with each other that sometimes then my presence, they kind of felt threatened that they couldn't be themselves with each other,
yeah.
that they couldn't do that. And so I used to laugh and joke with them about that. Like a lot of them, they wanted to know where the hot chicks were. And so I'd say, you keep working, I'll point out when a hot chick comes by, so you don't miss it. And so sometimes it's just doing stupid little stuff like that that makes them realize, you're just a real person and you're kind of part of the deal and you're not some prima donna.
You are one of the most focused, no nonsense, abundant minded people that I've ever met. Do you think that you were really just born this way, or is there something that happened in your childhood that you would credit to the way that you are now? Like to all of the success that you've achieved, your focus, your determination, your grit?
Um, some of it, I think, is my nature. My mom would tell me, you know, she would tell me that I was very reserved and very focused, even as a small child,
Yeah.
and that I was quiet, but I was observant. I mean, she just noticed that. I mean, and So, and then my mom was very interesting. Obviously, we're very influenced by our parents, right? And my mom, came up in a generation that survived, all of the wars and, the depression and things like that. But was diagnosed with, well, before they knew what polio was. And so I've come to believe that God gave her an extra antenna because she really needed help most of the time and sometimes from total strangers. And so she just had this extra antenna about how to read people.
Wow.
And as I got older, it used to drive me crazy because I'm like, how do you know that? You don't even know that person, But I think some of that I inherited to a certain degree of her observant of what other people were like, and so I think that focus of paying attention to what was going on around me I've always had. I didn't know where to put it. I mean, I was a good student, not a great student. I took piano lessons for 13 years and tried to but I wasn't a great pianist, and I tried to be the best at whatever and figure out what society was meant for me to do. But I was searching. I truly know that I was searching for what am I on this earth to do. I just tried to be good at everything that showed up and that I selected to do. Business person. I got married, just trying to help my husband start a business, run a business. I did everything that society expected me to do.
Right.
So it wasn't the values that I was missing. There was something missing inside me. And when I got behind the wheel of my very first race car to go to driver's school to get a competition license, it wasn't on a lark. It was something that I just said, I really want to try to do this. And it just clicked. It was like I found it and it found me. It was this calm sense. It was hard. I wasn't good at it either in the beginning, but there was just something very powerful that settled inside me that I have felt ever since that day. It was like it changed me, my sense of self, my sense of focus. And racing requires so much focus. The most powerful lesson that I had, that I learned how powerful it was I had a dog. I loved my dog. Took my dog to the track. You're not supposed to take the dogs to the track, but I mean, I took, because you're there for the whole weekend. I'm not going to put him in a kennel, so, and we had a motor home. And so we kept him tied up, and he was a beautiful Irish setter. His name was Max. And I was racing that weekend. My husband was racing that weekend. We kept the dog contained, and then at the end of the evening on Saturday night, with no race cars on the racetrack, everybody's kind of hanging out doing their thing. I decided to take Max out to way away from where all the people were and let him run, because it's like he needs to run, he needs to get that energy going. It was still on the racetrack, but it was way out. I mean, this is like a 2 mile track, and it was out of ways. And all of a sudden, a car came around on the track that wasn't supposed to be there, and there were a bunch of kids in it. And I'm in the middle of the tracks, trying to get them to stop and screaming at them, and they go right by me. And sure enough, one dog, one car, they hit the dog. And I was devastated. I mean, I yelled at them to go get my husband and what kind of car he had. And they got a truck. They came, we spent all night at the vet. And he didn't make it. So the next morning I'm still crying, and I'm like, I want to go home. I want to go home. And I don't want to be here. I just want to go home. And my husband said, look, we came here to race. We can't bring Max back. I'm racing. You do whatever you got to do. So when it came my time to start the race, I thought, what the hell? I got in the car. I'm sitting in the car with my helmet on, crying. But I'm like, I got to do this. And so I go out, and they have what we call the warm up lap. And I had to go right by the place where that had happened. And I come around to get ready to take the green flag. And I swear to God, it was like a whole other thing came over me. I mean, it was like this transformation. It was like I was in the real time. I was in the moment, forgot all of that, drove the race. And at the end of the race, I came back. And of course, the emotion all came back again, and I started crying. And then I didn't like myself, because I was like, how did I do that? How did I erase that emotion for that 20 or 30 minutes that I was in that race car doing? And that's when I realized the power of focus and concentration. So in reality, I learned to respect it and to understand and how to draw it up, how to get rid of the other things that are in the way, because it requires 110% of your mental focus and your concentration. And the purity of that, it's almost like meditation. I mean, racing a car at even 230 miles an hour is literally like meditation. It's fabulous. I mean, it's the most cleansing, powerful mental processing. And then physically, you're busy too, which is really cool.
What was your pre-race ritual that helped you get into the zone, get focused?
About an hour before, I learned I'm very much aware of what's going on around, and we have a lot of peripheral vision activity happening. And you see something over here, even though you're focused down here. And there's a lot of stuff going on, right? A lot of distractions, a lot of clutter. About an hour before, it's like it starts to zone in. It's like it's not tunnel vision, but it's like a lot of those things just go away.
Mm.
And my friends have told me that are at the track with me, they said, Lyn, it's like we see it in your face. You literally change. And then by the time I strap in the car and got the helmet on and everything, I mean, there's this calmness that takes over. I don't have a crazy ritual like which glove I put on first or anything like that. But I just have a way of zoning out and zoning in, and then really being calm. There's a calmness that comes in me, and it's fabulous. So it takes about an hour to process or to go through the process.
You know that saying, like, you're the sum of the 5 people that you hang out with? Who are your 5 people? Because I've heard you speak. I know you are super passionate about continuing to learn and to grow. So who are the people that you're surrounding yourself with back then and then now?
This is what I have to have in my life to perform as a champion. And I have to have this every day, not just when I drive race cars.
Did you write these words?
I wrote these words. This took hours with the help of a coach. We talk and we come up with all these different things.
Yeah.
One or two words of the characteristics
Mhm.
that have to be in my life present, whether they're mine or those around me,
Yeah.
for me to be at my championship best. So the first one is right focus.
Mm.
So everybody talks about being focused, but it's focused on the right things.
Mm.
So that was learning how to focus on the right things. Common energy. I don't have to just have energy. I have to have the energy of the people around me, whether it's my crew. If I sense that my family or my crew or somebody is like either negative or having problems or issues, it impacts my performance for me to be my best. And so I have to work on that common energy, and that changes who those people are. Calm. I have to remain calm. I talked about that. Endurance. You have to be endurance. And for me, I have to be in for the long haul, whatever it is. Even if I'm cleaning the house, I have to be in for the long haul. I don't just clean a little here, clean a little there. It's like, okay, today's clean day. I'm going to go the route. Strong. I have to be mentally strong, physically strong. So that helps maintain my ability to train and work out or be fit. Lean. Lean is, not just weight, but it's you just keep stuff that you need. You know what I mean? You don't waste energy. You don't waste time. You don't waste stuff. Alert thinking. I have to be not just alert, but Lyn, are you thinking? What are you thinking about? Again, the right focus tied with alert thinking, really be on top of your game. Hungry is a critical. I mean, I have an incredible desire. It's an appetite for life, but it's an appetite for success. So it's hunger. And the last one is selfing, which is a word that I think I created.
Yeah.
We talked about that because
Yep.
I love to help people. I love to help my family. I'm a helper. I am a doer that helps people, but it takes energy. It takes time. It's distracting. And I have this thing where I also have to stay focused on the stuff that I need, right? The time and the fitness and everything. So I called it selfing so that I'm helping myself,
Yep.
which is different than selfish. To me, it felt like selfish. And I thought, no, I'm helping myself. But the common energy is the answer to your question, was that I had to make sure the people around me had that common energy. And I've been so blessed to have, I call them my tribe. And the members of the tribe have changed. I have a girlfriend that started my second year that I raced Indy. I met her in Indianapolis. She's like my sister from another mother to this day. And she blends the things that I don't have. She's incredibly kind to everybody.
Yeah.
She is very detail oriented and thinks ahead. I mean, she has a lot of the qualities that I also have and respect and need, but she's just so kind, and she calms me down, and so she's one of those that I always feel the common energy when I've got Deb in my life. I had a gentleman that was very much a part of my racing career, and we're still friends to this day. His name is John Gorsline, and he knows the sport, he knows the characters, he knows the politics.
Mm.
He's just very well connected, but at the same time, I mean, he saw my talent, he saw my desire, he saw my ability, and so he's my go-to. You know, if I need to talk to him or I need to run something by him, I know I can call John. You know, so um, and I've had others that have come and gone. Those are more the two that come to my mind immediately that are so critical. I had an attorney, an accountant, maybe different people like that. I mean, I tell every young racer, you've got to build a team. You could call them those five people around you. And it isn't just your parents who are going to coddle you or who are
Right.
going to criticize you, because you have to be careful because parents do that a lot.
Yeah.
So it's really important to have that tribe and be selective about who they are. And for me, that there's that common energy. Doesn't mean they always tell me what I want to hear, but that I know it's a very common belief system in what we're doing.
For the people that are listening and they're hearing this idea of selfing and they're curious, they might be interested, but they can't get over the head trash of it still feels selfish. What advice would you tell people who they know their head knows that they need to take the time for themselves, but their heart's like, gosh, how can I take this time to go pursue this passion or this hobby when my kids need me and my spouse needs me, my work needs me? What do you tell them?
You got to do it in bite-sized pieces. When you talk about how could I do this for myself, do it in bite-sized pieces. I mean, for me, it's more the discipline of things like making dinner. Sometimes it's just easier to not, or to get takeout or whatever. And, when you know that it's not as healthy. And
Mhm.
so it actually is better for the family if you have a family, as well as the fact that it's going to give you quality nutrition. And
Right.
so I think it's doing it in bite-sized pieces.
Yeah.
It's a discipline. If you decide you want to go to college and you want to take some courses, and that's a big commitment of time, and you also have a full-time job and you have a family, that's a big decision. And then it's harder to learn those steps on big decisions. So it's easier to do it in bite-sized pieces first. And then what happens is you become more, we're all creatures of habit. You start habitually thinking about, wait a minute, is that really the best thing for me? This guy that is a great speaker, and he's a race car driver that I've known for years. And in his speeches to corporate people is that if you improve the performance of every individual on your team, you're going to have a winning team, as opposed to trying to, how do I have a winning team?
Yeah.
Then you have this strategy. Well, how you have a winning team is look at each person on your team and figure out how to individually improve their performance. So sometimes going in smaller steps or thinking in smaller ways to accomplish something is better than trying to have some big strategy or big time management decision because you're trying to get what you want. It isn't getting what you want, it's getting more about what you need
Mm.
to be your best, and doing that in bite-sized pieces, and realize that if you're doing that, it's the same as helping somebody else. It feels good to help somebody else. You got to try to make it feel good to help yourself, because if you do, you can then help others.
What did you do to stay clear of all of the drama?
Fortunately, most of the years that I raced, there was no social media. There was
Yeah.
media, but there was not what's going on in the world today.
Yeah.
And so the drama was a little more subtle, more rumors.
Mm.
It was around you, but it wasn't in your face like it is today. I mean, if you go on Facebook today because you want to connect with some people or want to know what's going on in the world, then you see all this stuff that could just drive you crazy. Before, you had to turn the TV on, or what I mean. It was just different. So the drama was hard because some of it was very hurtful, and probably more than hurtful, that it was, I had to manage disappointment was the hardest thing for me to get over and to get above, come back, because we have crashes, we have more failures, whether they're personal failures or just failures. We have so much more failure than we do success,
Mm.
so we have lots of practice to
Yeah.
figure out how to manage that. So it's to be focused on why you're doing what you're doing. I mean, the why is the purity of whatever it is you're doing, and again, and not really caring about what other people think. The way I looked at it is, this is where I am
Mm.
and this is where I'm going. Unless the drama or the people or the whatever are preventing me, I mean, they're literally in my way,
Mhm.
I don't deal with it. In other words, if they're in my way, if it's something that's literally a block in for me to go where I need to go, at that point I got to deal with it. And so then I've either got to confront it, I got to go over it, I got to go under it, I got to knock it down, whatever. I got to get there, you know. But if it's happening outside around there, I mean, ignoring stuff is a really good lesson to learn.
So you've talked twice now about not worrying so much about what other people think. But what advice do you have for people to actually make progress in that area? Because I want to not care what other people think. I'd like to say that I don't care what other people think, but it's still hard. And if I'm starting that journey to be a little bit more self confident and not let all of the sticks and stones hurt me, what advice would you give?
It's hard because it depends on who those other people are too. Obviously, if it's people that you love and you care about and they're not happy with you, then obviously you can't just say, well, I don't care what they think. So, you know, a lot of it is discerning where that's coming from. It's like, I don't know. I spend so much time criticizing myself. I don't think I have anything left to deal with what other people think, you know. But I guess it's discerning who those people are, and unless they impact your life in some way, if it's your inner circle, if it's your family and your dear friends, and they are interrupting your self confidence and your self belief and your you know what I mean, and your ability, then that's where you have to have a filtering system of how you process
Right,
what's important to you in your life.
right.
Um, we build that into such a bigger thing. I mean, I think I learned this a little bit in racing too, because I mean, this is going to sound really silly, but when I early on in my racing career, first of all, I'm in a race car, nobody can see me, which I loved. I'm in a race suit that makes me look like the Pillsbury Doughboy. You know what I mean? And so it's all of a sudden, I'm totally all of the esoteric looking like a woman. I got a helmet on. In other words, I'm just this it's race car going around the racetrack. So I loved that it kind of
Yeah,
got rid of me worrying about being a woman and what do people think, because I can't see me anyway.
yeah.
Um, but I remember when I first turned a couple of really perfect laps, you know, and I was like, God, that was good. I mean, I'm literally saying to myself, God, that was good.
That's
And,
amazing.
and then I looked around like, it's just you in this race car, and your lap time is going to determine whether it was good or not, and nobody really cares. I mean,
Yeah,
it was wonderful.
yeah,
And so I think I've kind of tried to take some of that attitude outside the race car, right? And just say to myself, I look really good today. And if somebody does say, you look awful, I was like, I don't care. I walked out of here saying I look good today. You got to sort it out and have a sense of self, and and get on with it.
yeah. We definitely get in our heads too much sometimes, just
Yeah.
thinking that everybody else is thinking about.
Yes, exactly.
No, everybody's just thinking about themselves.
Exactly. Everybody is totally preoccupied with themselves. I mean, there have been times when I've said, well, did you see that? You know, and they're like, what are you talking about? I mean, I remember actually when I won Rookie of the Year at Indy, I was just with some of these guys that I used to race with, because we had a big party celebrating my 50th anniversary. And a couple of them said they remembered this because a week later, I'm in Detroit at a race, at another race. And I'm seeing all of these guys that I were like my teammates in different types of racing. And I show up and everybody's just doing the stuff they normally do. Nobody said, hey, Lyn, good job at Indy. Hey, congrats. Finally, I said, did anybody watch the Indy 500? I mean, it was like I wanted somebody to say, hey, good job. Congratulations for getting Rookie of the Year. Nobody said anything. Sometimes we build this in our head, like you said, these mountains of either positive or negatives, and then we carry them on our shoulders, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, one thing that I really admire about you is how you have been able to take any challenge in your life and see it as a teaching moment. Like you see this as an opportunity to learn, to grow. But I think for many of us, challenges are things that are in our way, obstacles that are blocking us, preventing us, right? And so, what was it that helped you shift your mindset around these challenges so that you could look at it from this other perspective and see it from this way of like, let me invite challenge into my life because that's what's going to help me learn and grow and improve.
One is my sport. Every corner of every lap is a challenge. You may have done it right the last time, and then the track conditions change, the tires change, everything changes. So it's endless. It's a non-stop challenging life. And so I think I've become very conditioned to understanding that that's what to expect. So it's like, what can I learn from that lap or that corner so that I go to the next corner smarter, from what I just learned. I mean, it's the culture, that I've lived in. But the problem is that of 365 days, even when I was racing a lot, of 365 days in the year, I may have actually only been in the race car a third of that time. The rest of the time, I'm out in the world.
Yeah.
you know, it. So I do a lot of reading. I mean, I can tell you, you can't see all the books here, but I have read. It started out with a book called The Magic of Believing, which was published in 1978. That was the breakthrough that I read about when I said I wanted to become a race car driver, and then it didn't go well in the beginning. It wasn't coming out the way I thought it was. And then I got very distracted or very discouraged. And somebody gave me that book. And it's just this tiny little book. And that was the beginning of me understanding that you have to retrain your brain. Your thoughts are what's going to happen. I just constantly read to try to be better and try to be smarter and try to be better prepared for the shit that's going to happen because it's coming. It's coming, I'll tell you. And enjoy the moments when things are going well. But I think really racing, the culture of racing, because I was a lot more of a drama queen before I raced. I was a bigger whiner back then than I think with racing. I just learned that it's just going to be that way. It's never right. There's always something new. And if you just get discouraged, you're done. So what you've
Yeah.
got to do is say, what did I learn from it? How can I not have that happen again or make that, figure out how to get around it or whatever.
What are some of your other favorite books? Some of the most influential books in your life?
Oh God. Oh, it's hard. I mean, I've read a well. I've read 9 of Anne Merle Lindbergh's books.
Mm,
I'm fascinated by history and about women in history,
yeah.
and particularly I got very caught up with because Charles Lindbergh obviously was a big deal, but I found out about it. Anne Merle Lindbergh she went on all those planes. I mean, I did a deep dive, and she was a pilot, she was a navigator, she was the first female glider pilot, and but her approach, the female experience, was so different than the male experience, and the way she wrote, because she also could write really well because she went to college. I mean, those are not life lesson books, but I've got a lot of them. It's hard for me to just pull them off the top of my head. Now I read a lot of biographies, but
Mm,
when I was developing the skills we're talking about, when I was developing the tools. There's a time for the tools. And,
yeah.
and then most recently, I've had some very disappointing things happen in my life, and I needed to really get out of the way. And so I just read a book called Trust, which is a very hard, thick book to read, and Letting Go.
Mm,
That's on my shelf actually because I haven't finished those yet.
yeah.
So life's going to just throw us curves, and the good news is other people have experienced similar things. We think that whatever's happened to us, it's only ever happened to us. And when I read some of these, it's hard because some of the lessons that you're getting or come from a completely different experience that person had, but you can't discard it and say, well, I mean, this one book I read, it was a woman who wrote it and she'd had some horrible things happen. And it's hard to say, well, I never had that. But yet, if you hang in there, there's some nuggets of lessons and tools that can help you possibly. So you have to stay in. If you're really looking for a tool and you're trying to learn something, it isn't just going to be put on a platter in front of you. You can't just easily go, oh, well, that was me. You have to go, wait a minute. Put yourself. I mean, that's what we do when we go to movies sometimes too. We put ourselves in that person's life, right?
Right.
And it's so when you're trying to get a tool to help you get through a challenge or to help you be better, whatever it is that's to try to help you, you've got to be able to be open to learning and seeing where is the lesson that person had that might help you.
You are the epitome of somebody who's pursued their passions. For someone who maybe hasn't done that for their career, and they're realizing it now, and they're realizing that what they're doing today is maybe not what their life's passion is. What advice would you give them? And how would somebody make that transition, make that shift to really be more intentional about pursuing their passions?
I think finding the passion. What I've learned from the speaking engagements I've done, when people have come up afterward and they almost feel apologetic because they love their job or they love their career, they love their life, but they realize that they're not passionate about it, and all I can say is keep looking for something that you can become passionate about,
Yeah.
or that a passion shows up because you pursued something that maybe you didn't think about doing.
Yeah.
But because once you find your passion, it'll take hold. And
Mhm.
what's so cool about it is that the gift that you will get by pursuing your passion and going with it is everything else gets better.
Yeah.
That's what I learned. It's a little overwhelming, to be honest. It could be overwhelming to other people because people that are kind of floating through life,
Mhm.
I know, I mean, I was that way until I raced. I mean, I was a good person. I was a good secretary. I was really good at the stuff I was doing, but I was floating. I just am totally convinced that through finding racing and
Mhm.
pursuing they say the grass is greener, the sky is bluer. I mean, everything got better. And so don't give up. It doesn't matter what age you are. Sometimes we look, oh, what's missing? That's the way I was. I was kind of looking for what was missing. And maybe sometimes in the search you will find something. But I think what's your appetite something, or what's like that just goes, wow, that there's a wow factor for at least a moment, then at least give it a try, or pursue it a little bit, because maybe it'll light a fire in you. Um, and when you overcome something, I think too, there's a power from that it may not necessarily be a passion, but there's a power from overcoming something that carries into the other things you do.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing I haven't accomplished, there's two things. Well, one thing I'll share, because it drives me crazy. I do not know how to swim. And I'm afraid of water, but I love being in the water. I love the water, but
Yeah.
I always feel I'm going to drown.
Mm.
And nobody can figure it out because I take swim lessons, but they have no idea what I'm experiencing while I'm actually trying to do what they're telling me to do. Is I still feel I'm overcoming drowning. In my mind, I'm still drowning, but I'm going to keep swimming. I'm going to figure it out. And I even went to a hypnotist and tried to figure out, maybe in a former life I drowned. I mean, we went through, I've gone through all kinds of exercises, but, and I had another athlete tell me that once you learn to swim, because it's the thing you can't do that you want to do and that, almost everybody else can do. She said it's going to make you better at everything else,
Yeah.
because you've overcome that fear. So it's, I guess, overcoming a fear and finding your passion are two different things, but they kind of, the benefit of either one could actually carry over into other parts of your life.
Yeah. Yeah, at Empowered Families, we talk about it as a confidence spillover effect, right? When you do hard things, you believe you can do more hard things, and it has
Yeah,
this incredible, beautiful spillover effect.
that's true. I mean, actually, we talk about that with my granddaughter, who's 6 years old. So,
Yeah,
she's starting to experience that instead of, oh, that's too hard, realizing, oh, carries
yeah.
over.
Yeah. I like to tell my kids, well, you're a kid that can do hard things. So I've got 3 kids, and my husband is also a racer, but not a professional racer. But he
Really
like he's got a couple cars that he'll do track days, and he's
cool.
hoping that one of our kids will be an F1 driver one day. So I'd love to know, like, what advice would you give my husband who is hoping he's put our 6-year-old in go-karts already, and they'll go to the track and do they'll kart, and my 4-year-old is her legs are a little too short right now for her to get in the go-kart, but he's hoping that once she gets a little bit tall enough that she'll get in the go-kart too. So what advice would you have for any parent that is hoping that their kids will pursue the hobbies that they're interested in?
Wow, that I didn't know that about you. This is new information. I love it. Well, go karting is definitely the good start. So he's doing the right thing there. But I mean, go karting is the best way to start, and allowing them to have fun. I mean, not push, but allowing them to have fun, and always look to see that they are having fun.
Yeah.
And then taking them to the races. but not just sitting in the stands. I mean, obviously everybody's right now is sort of mesmerized with Formula One right now, and it's very hard to get access in Formula
Yeah.
One. But the other races, like vintage racing and sports car racing, it's very accessible, and so and usually age is not even so much a factor. I mean, as long as they got a parent with them,
Yeah.
so that they understand um, all of the pieces of it, and as opposed to just sitting in the stands watching the cars go by really fast. So
Yeah.
I think, exposing them to the engineering, and obviously with simulators today, I mean, that'll probably be next on dad's list, is to get a simulator, because these kids are on simulators all the time.
I know. He's already been asking me. I'm like, no, not yet, please, not yet.
It's worse in a way than the kids that are with this all the time, or with their iPads and everything, because they don't want to do anything else. But it's what the most successful ones in the sport today, that's what they're doing.
Okay, so I want to talk about legacy and, you know, the work that you're doing with women in motorsports North America. And you've got an incredible legacy with all of the work that you've already done. But talk to me about like what you hope your legacy will be and what you're doing right now to be intentional about crafting that.
I don't think of it in that way at all. I don't think of it as legacy, and I'm not crafting it. It's really simple. I have had a great life.
Yeah.
50 years in this sport. Um, yeah, it's had its hiccups, and yeah, but I've had a great life. And it bothers me
Mm.
to know that there are other women out there who either have the talent and the desire and the ability. So whether it's driving, competing, or whether it's running the business or being the president of a track, or whatever role it is. But if they're just holding themselves back,
Mm.
or they're being held back because of old thinking, you know, because of things that shouldn't be, I just can't settle for that. I can't go to bed at night going, I had this great life, and you're not doing anything to be able to try to change the culture or change that world at all,
Yeah.
to be able to have others have this great life.
Yeah.
And it may not be for everybody. It's
Yeah.
it's a different lifestyle that some people realize. But I know there's a lot of females out there who do really want to be in this business and want to work in this business and have a career in this business. And I definitely want to see a woman win the Indy 500 and see a woman in F1. And I mean, I want to see women succeed better than I did, better than those that have been before me and even followed me. And so I can't not make efforts to do what I can. And now that the industry seems to be more willing and desiring and really wants it, I mean, they're for the first time in my 50 years, these last 2 or 3 years, it's changed. It's not just a moment; it's a movement, and it is one that if I can help push it along and be a part of that, then that makes me feel good, makes me feel right for the world.
Yeah. I love that. What's on the horizon for you? What do you have planned for 2025? What are you working on?
Well, it's all really now with WIMNA, we're already talking about what we're going to do in 2025, but having an annual event that not just celebrates, but that really pulls everybody together, and kind of gives us a touchstone of what we're doing. Are we on the target, and what can we do? We're really, I mean, a lot of it is telling us what is needed. I want to be very flexible as an organization. We're not building some big organization. We want to be very flexible and very adaptable to the needs of the industry, and to the women that want to work in the industry. So we'll continue to do education. We'll continue to do some mentorships and scholarships that we are trying to now start to create more of those incentives, and try to build a functional organization. We're functional, but we've got to be able to respond to what the industry needs. So, and then me personally, I got to figure this out. I did just celebrate my 50th year in racing, and I just turned the last laps that I will turn in a race car on October 30th at Daytona. And I'm still getting treatments on my right arm because of it, but it's worth the pain. So I'm in a kind of an exploratory mode for me right now.
So, if people are wanting to get involved with women in North America motorsports and they want to help, especially as you're talking about wanting to grow the organization, create a little bit of structure, how would they get in touch with you? How do they contact you? How do they get involved?
Well, the first is to go to our website, and it's womeninmotorsportsna.com.
Okay.
And that website is our base of operation. It is my core of communicating what's going on out there.
It was so great chatting with you today. Thank you so much for spending time with us and sharing all this incredible wisdom with us. Thanks for tuning in to Mpowered Living. I hope today's conversation sparked some inspiration and gave you tools to live more intentionally in your family, work, and life. If you enjoyed our episode today, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an inspiring story or actionable takeaway. And if you know someone who would love this episode, share it with them, because living an intentional life is better when we do it together. Until next time, remember, the life you want doesn't happen by chance. It happens by choice. Let's keep creating it one step at a time.